What's up, guys, and welcome back to What's Up TV, where you are here for all you can eat warriors. And we're back and got another week of exciting and fun topics to cover, and especially with my main man Ash, as always. How you doing, my bro? How you feeling? And how are you ready for another big weekend of footy?
Good, bro. Always good after a Warriors win over the weekend, mate. It just makes everything so much happier, and you can roll into work, and just have a big smile on your face. So I think that's the best thing. You know, you don't get shit from anyone. But major matchup this weekend. My boss of my workplace is a Tigers fan, so yeah, might do a little bet. I could have some days off or whatever if the Warriors get up. Hey, it would be nice.
Bit of time in lieu would be lovely, man. No.
It would be lovely.
Well, put a penalties, bit of overtime, chuck a bit of overtime, double payments for Ash. So that's cool, bro. Yeah, workplace battles is always fun. It's always hard though when you're a Warriors fan. If you go back in and after a tough weekend, it's you kind of hide in corners right until the noise kind of cools down, bro.
Tell me about it, bro. Being over here in Brizzy, you got some Broncos fans out there. They've had history of like success. You got Brody, my bro. He's the Doggies fan. So obviously last year he was high and mighty. So yeah, he was loving it and I was hating it. But hopefully we're back this season. We're looking very good to start off with, but still a lot to learn, a lot to go. And hopefully this weekend a good win before we go to the bye.
Absolutely, man. That's what we're hoping for. And welcome everyone in the chat. We can see you guys all in there, all the regulars, all the channel members. We really appreciate you guys coming in and hanging out with us tonight. So, look, man, let's get into this real quick. Guys, I'm sure you've seen the team list. No doubt you have covered that. The change. Oh, firstly, sorry. Lest I forget. Thank you for the 2K. Ooh. I know we did this last night, but 2K subscribers, especially with the content we do in the NRL, especially specifically Warriors, this is really difficult to get 2K. And to achieve that over the last year and a half with my man Ash has been a really, really great thing to see, and we're just really pumped and thankful for everyone. Just throw this back at you, Ash. I spoke with the members last night about this and showed love. But any thoughts on the 2K? It's pretty cool every time you go up and another KA. You know what I mean? Like far out. You can't believe it,
bro. Oh, bro, the community we built here is probably the best thing overall. Like, Levon's channel's always been a great channel, like, since the start, where I found on like Instagram used to be great. After where I do my games on YouTube, I'll jump over to Levon and see what his thoughts were back in the day. And then we finally came together and we started to do all this sort of stuff. And I think the greatest thing, as I said before, we built a great community, right? Like, 2,000 people, and a lot of them jump not just from this channel, but to my channel. You support every other channels around. So you guys are absolutely incredible. And oh man, like honestly, I couldn't be more thankful for this channel and how good it is to talk Warriors week in, week out with you guys, and just bring smiles on all our faces. So it's good that when we're going well, everything's positive, and 2K is a real positive time for us right now.
Nah, man, it is. Thank you, and thank you again, everyone. And it makes us as creators, not just this platform, but Ash Thomas on YouTube and everyone else are like, it's pumped to have people to hang out with. I remember probably early day streams, there might have been 4 or 5 people in it,
I know.
Now we're getting up to 100 people watching. It's absolutely mean. Thank you very much. Bro. 6 or 7, the Halves, man. The Halves combo that we need. This is the Halves, Chuck us in there, Webby. Give us a crack.
Put my hand up, Webb. Let's go.
Yeah. I'll be a kicking half. I'll be the game manager. I'll let Ash do all the running. I ain't got the legs for it anymore.
I'll throw one big Benji step, bro, and do an ACL, and I'll be gone.
Look, speaking of injuries, I know it's not a great one to bring up. But
I didn't mean to do that.
Segue into RTS. Look, out for 8 weeks from all reports from Warriors website and on Instagram. I know me and Ash, we spoke about an Ash. I remember you saying, hopefully it's a minor strain. It looks like it's a little bit deeper than that. Obviously, 8 weeks is quite a while. But just share me, man, what your thoughts on this and how it impacts the squad. But go back to RTS as well. His kind of, I call it a little mini revelation, him on the wing. But I think he could really play anywhere and do really well. But just what's your thoughts on his performance thus far, and the impact of the injury?
Yeah, just devastating, bro. Like, a shout out to him too. Like, I don't think we spoke about, like, we could speak about it enough, but that effort that he made, before he got off with that hamstring injury, incredible. Like, that's leadership, and that's what he brought back to the club when he's come back here. Obviously, last year was an up and down year, but, I thought through every part of it, like, we all agree, like, Rogers is a special talent that we wanted to have, flourish. And when he got put into that wing role, I thought that was really making his own, you know what I mean? Like, I made the hot tip that I think that he was going to be one of the best wingers of the year this year out of the NRL. I think he was really moving towards that, right? Obviously, us coming into this year, we have been struggling in outside back depth, like really good outside back depth in that area, in wings mainly.
Sure.
And I think Roger filled in that void. But unfortunately, with the age that he is, these things do happen. This is what can happen in rugby league at the moment. He's 32 now, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
He's up there. So, just obviously needs to, hopefully he comes back fit and ready, and we can run into hopefully into a final series or something with him there. But definitely devastating news to start the season there. 8 weeks. I'm sure we can cover with Adam Pompey, but still obviously devastating news.
Yeah, and it's like, I think we have guys that can fill in like Pompey and that, but also to an extent, we lose that X factor of Rogers' game, and he's been very much X factor the last couple of weeks. His carries, his yardage, his runs, like, we are losing some of that. So maybe we're going to miss out on some of that. But I think at least for now, Pompey is the right option. Actually, back to Tristan's question here. Do you guys think Pompey will be the permanent winger while RTS and DWZ are out? That goes back to, does he kind of fill in for, like, Kossi's kind of a natural replacement, but now with the rise of Ali Leotoa, it's kind of pushed Pompey out of the centre and onto the wing. Do you think that he'll stay there, in your opinion?
At the moment, yes. It's all down to performance, right? Like, Pompey hasn't played a lot of wing over like the last couple of years in Webby's tenure. Obviously, he's been solely a centre, a guy that can do a job there. People, I saw some thoughts before on Pompey where, like, his run meters and stuff like that, but people don't understand, like, he's actually got decent post-contact meterage, like, for a centre. Like, it's actually a big misconception about Pompey. He's actually really solid when he gets his legs pumping. Obviously, he doesn't do as much work as our centres in that centre position, but out of the wing, he has to do a lot of that work now. Or Ali Leotoa, someone like that can come in and do a little bit more work to really cover from that edge. But I think it's all game dependent, whether he continues on a form, like, he looks good in that wing position. Obviously, it's still a wait and see. But if he goes well there, I don't see why not we keep him there. I think he'll be safe under the high ball, all that sort of stuff.
Sure.
So I'm definitely just keeping an eye out on him and see what we lose. Obviously no Roger there and Adam Pompey being there.
Yeah, I think keep an eye on Pompey. He's probably not as explosive as a Roger or something like that, but he does make post-contact yard. When you break his numbers down and you look at, you like, frick, he got 60 post. How did he get that? You didn't see it, but it did happen.
Agreed.
I think that's a lot of what his work is. And just look this weekend for the cues defensively, how he can apply that with Leotoa. I think he'll be a handy kind of replacement on the wing. I remember 2019 or 2020, he played wing mostly. And I know people that are big. I know a guy, and I know people that are actually big on him more as a winger than an actual centre. That's how they see him in their eyes, that he's actually a better winger than centre. So I think we'll just wait and see this one out. I just want to quickly go back again to Roger and just play a little bit devil's advocate, but also that in reality, I think, me personally, I felt he was going to get injured at some point this season. Yeah. The older players do start to get nicks, and especially someone, if you've seen Roger, I said, he's muscular as, so it's like a bodybuilder. How bodybuilders they're almost like one move away from getting an injury because they got so much muscle.
He's so well tuned, I think is a real good way to put it. Like, a lot of these rugby league players these days, they're so well tuned to a point of like right on that edge of the line of like, you know, when they do something, there's an injury that's going to come their way. Usually, it's kind of different to the older style days. Like watching some of the older games that we had on. If you go to YouTube, it's got the Warriors 30 years. You see some of the movements. Like I saw Steve Price get hip dropped and get up and like it was nothing going on. But you get hip dropped today because all the boys are so well tuned. Syndesmosis injuries, all that sort of stuff comes into play. So you're 100% right there.
Good point. Yeah, and just for guys getting a little bit older. Now, I suppose it's something the club has chosen, and I go back to that point of, you know, bringing him in. Is this something that worries you moving forward with Roger with another year on his contract, or is the rewards so much better than the losses, or the the pros better than the cons? When we've had him for 3 great weeks, I thought he's been pretty good all around, but now we lose him for 8. Does it add up in terms of what we have from him in terms of what we're losing from him?
Yeah, it's obviously great to have him back at the club. I think leadership's a big thing overall, like experience, like he's been to all the big games. So I think off the field, like that area of him is a great thing to have around the boys. I think that's great either way, if he's playing or not playing. But, it has been the worry, and that's been the whole worry to the whole point of, can Roger be our fullback? I know a lot of people threw that up in the air. Roger being our fullback, there's obviously going to be a lot more miles under his legs in that position. He's going to have a lot more explosive moments in that position, especially on out the back sweep plays, stuff like that. So that was more of a reason why I think it was a good thing that we brought him back in a center or wings high position where he's a little bit older and we can cover in that sort of sense. Obviously, we're saying that, misconception. Well, I don't. The words are all just lost to me right now, but we don't have players that are up to that level to cover him just yet. But it is a position like wing that we can cover quite well if he is in and out. It's not going to really change everything substantially. It will change things for sure. Like Bumpy could have some misreads due to connection with the center, stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I'd rather him be in the wing position and drop out than being at fullback and be a major cog at fullback and then drop out, if that makes sense. So yes, it is a worry for the future, right? Like it is like, I obviously want him there more times than not. I think when he gets back from the injury, hopefully he is there more times than not, but it definitely is a worry and a risk, for him getting older and injuries coming into his game, that, we could lose him a little bit more. And I think overall his experience and leadership probably carries him for me to be like, I think it's okay. But obviously we don't want a 32-year-old that gets injured week in, week out, and we don't see him anymore. And that will cause a lot more disruption than good.
Yeah, that's actually a great point that you made about him being on the wing. I never even thought of it that way, that it kind of limits your the impact on the spine, like everything else kind of stays intact. And really a good point there. I agree with you. I think the leadership qualities is what we're banking on, and the transition. It's good to have Pompey there. I think it's good, but we do need to look at if those cup guys or someone who the next cab off the rank is. Have you earmarked anyone that you might think is coming through the system, or would you go to market for a winger? What is your thoughts just on that topic while we're there?
I think the kids that are coming through the system right now are all doing very well. Like we got a couple of centers that can play wing that I really, really do enjoy, but they're in like SG ball. So we're talking like 17, 18-year-olds, right? So like they're a little bit of ways away. But Kahu Kappa, he's been playing edge back row in the in SG ball, but he is predominantly a center wing, can play fullback as well. He's got a ton of talent, ton of ability, good speed, good upside. He's great under a high ball. Compton Purcell is someone that I really do enjoy. Like, I think that he's just as good in center than he is in wing. When he's on the wing, his carries out of the back end's absolutely incredible. But if you're looking at someone a little bit closer around our squad, we got Jersey flag players like Sio Gali that can play center, can play wing as well, that I really do enjoy, or Raphael Sio. But those guys are still a little bit of ways away. So we're still talking about, players like Ed Gossie and obviously Harper that we brought over. Harper's, if we're going out of those two, like Harper's been a really solid, just a solid piece there in the wing. He doesn't offer anything crazy at all, but he offers experience. He's decent under high ball, doesn't do anything wrong. Where obviously Gossie is just rocks and diamonds. You don't know what you're going to get from Gossie. He can come out and have a blinder of a game, then he can come out and have an absolute shocker. So I know every time Warriors fans see Gossie in the lineup, they're a little bit worried. But junior base, I think, Compton Purcell, Kahu Kappa, Sio Gali, all little players that we were waiting out for the future. That's off the top of my head right now.
Yeah, and there are some guys like you say in the wings. I mean, Dayon. A lot of Alex saying here about Dayon Amituanai.
Yeah, Army 2 and I.
But they're just that
Yep.
little step away, Alex. I think that's what we're trying to say is they're just still
Young.
they're just still young and that transition, and we might just have to ride it out at the moment with the Pompey situation. Maybe you go Harper. You want guys with a little bit of experience, but I
I
do
wouldn't
think
be.
yeah.
Oh, sorry, brother. I wouldn't be too far off. Like Graham Telfer. I'm sure I've seen him in a wing position before. Like we've got guys that can
Yeah.
make shift like that too. But
Yep.
yeah, just obviously at the moment it's a little bit of a dire spot with Roger dropping out. We've got to put Pompey there that used to play wing when he first came to grade, but moved to a centre. So I have to wait and see.
Yeah, let's wait and see, guys. It does feel a little bit like a transitional phase, and look, things will change again once Dallin comes back. But yeah, I mean, injuries are always going to happen. We knew that we were going to be in this situation. I suppose we got Harper while we could. Maybe we reevaluate in the off season to really look at this again.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you want to do I think there's enough kind of Montoya level guys coming through the grades, they can do a job. Like you're saying, you rattled off maybe 3 or 4 right there. If we don't feel quite confident, I only want to go and get an elite winger in market. Like if you can promise me you can get an elite winger that scores 20 tries a year, then do that. But if you can't, then maybe we stick around for you develop our younger guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because who would be the elite winger in your mind in the comp right now? Just the best winger on left winger in the comp.
Or best left winger in the comp. Brian Toto, wherever you put him, honestly.
Yeah.
Xavier Coates. I'm trying to think. Xavier plays on the right-hand side, no, left-hand side. So Xavier Coates is up there. Players like that. But a lot of those sort of players will get locked up. The only problem is like with the market too. The market's well out too. I feel like these days, like not just in spine players, but I think in players in general. Like if we're going to go chase, like let's say for instance, I'd love to have a Jojo Fafita type. A player that's sort of like the Titans have in and out, right?
Yeah.
But I bet you anything, like he'd be hunting like 500-600 Ks and that. Where I feel like you can get, like if we wait on our kids, coming up, like. I feel like they have ability there too to end up stepping up in the future. Yeah, Jesse Arthur's another one, but obviously
Jesse's,
grand final.
I wish we had gotten Jesse's. I really felt that 23 season would have been different if we had Jesse.
Yeah.
I rate him, but yeah, he would have been good. But I know what you're saying. That kind of tiered player that can, yeah.
I think just the market at the moment is just in a mess. Like that's the thing is like that's why I struggle to see us go into the market and buying someone unless there are someone overseen in grade at the moment. Like there's Israel Leota and stuff that I really like out of the Broncos system that I've been watching quite a bit. So I don't know what we really do in that role. I think more than likely the club's just going to go within. Obviously Morgan Harper's come over, but in the future we'll just go with these young kids and just wait for them to come up.
Yep. Just shout out to the bro. I forgot who dropped the super chat last night, but he said Cobbo was seen at the airport last night. Yeah. If Cobbo's white, Mrs. Māori or is she Kiwi? Or I'm not sure. If that was true, whoever sent that super chat, that might be a shout for Cobbo next year at the Warriors.
Would be incredible.
That'd be crazy.
It would be incredible. He'd want a big money though. That's the thing, bro. It's I don't want to blow big money on a winger. I want my big money in my halfback 5'8", that sort of role. So I don't know.
Yes, someone popped in last night and said Cobbo was seen at the airport. I don't know if it's true or not, but that'd be crazy.
Come through, Cobbo.
Come through
for a cheap wage. Come through.
Let's move now to the main man, Berry. He is finally back, and then with him coming in at right centre and the adjustment for Leotoa back to left centre. But we'll talk about Berry, man, a player we love. I know a player you love, and his attributes and what he brings.
Agree.
And a lot of the chat love him as well. What are your thoughts on him coming back? Is he ready from what you've observed? And what can we expect from him? He's so young still. It's not like an older player that's come off a big injury and they lose a bit of speed. Do you think he loses much or he comes back even stronger?
Yeah, he surprised me with his try over the weekend with the Roosters. Like, he had that really nice breakaway try.
Yeah.
I think it was Tamati Martin put him on after a drop ball from the Roosters, and he just went the full field. And I was looking at it going he doesn't look the quickest in the world, but he just kept streaking out, and I was like, that's a great sign to see. Obviously his injury wasn't like anything but like a nerve issue, which was like, worrying when I think he got caught in a crusher tackles a couple of weeks ago. I was a little bit worried, but I think fitness wise, he looks really, really good. He's doing all the 1%ers that we know Rocco Berry does really, really well. I think that's the first thing you notice him with, like, especially in Cup. Cup is like an area, like it's a grade definitely below NRL, and you can see the first grade talent like step above, a lot of like reserve grade talent, if that makes sense. So he looks so sturdy. He looks so ready. After his first game, where it did look like he was a little bit underdone, after the last couple of weeks, he's been very, very solid. And I've been waiting at the bit for him to jump back into this lineup, because I think he offers so much, especially defensively. I think that he'll offer so much for us.
I actually, how do you think he'll go with Tane? I think Tane's a very clued on footy player. When I look at Tane's kind of edge defense, he's very smart. He knows when to jam, or he knows the system well enough and when to kind of play. Do you think there'll be a natural transition with Tane and Berry as well? Because I think that's something that I think it should be quite seamless, the transition still, even though Leotoa's been doing a good job over there too, with his own individual try efforts. So something to think about.
That's definitely a really good thought. Like, you're just changing a connection now from Ali Leotoa and putting Rocco Berry in there. I believe in Rocco though. Like, I think Rocco defensively, he'll work very well with Tane. I think Tane's footy IQ is really strong, like very high as well, to where I don't think it's gonna take as long for them to connect and really make the right moves on that edge. Rocco does so much defensively to lock down an edge. He had to deal with, obviously, last year Shawnee coming in with injuries, so he had to protect his inside shoulder so much more. I think having someone like a Luke Metcalf out there that is a little bit younger, obviously, he does well defensively as well, in my opinion, for his size and what he does. I think Rocco can move off his reads a lot better now and move off them, and I think him and Tane will work really well in tandem. I think that he can help Tane a lot more in areas as well, and I think on the opposite end, I think Ali can help on that edge as well, just with his speed, his movement too. I think that to me, it's our better centre pairing, in my opinion. I just love the way both those kids move, and big bodies, and I think defensively they're both very stout.
Team Mag, just on this one, I think from the team list, from how I've seen how they write it up, I always interpret it that 3 is usually the right centre, and 4-5 is usually the left-sided players. So I think from what I've seen in the team list is that I think it looks as though Berry will be on that right centre side.
Yep. It's still up in the air,
Unless
though.
Webby just wants to play mind games and then he changes
it. It's still up in the air, though. I've seen a lot of times that even with numbers, stuff like that, it can definitely change. But I think when we saw the number of, like, Ali was number 3 for, like, that period. Now he's number 4. I was just kind of like, surely they're going to move him sides, because Ali, out of the two, I think Ali's the better. He can play on both sides. His ball carry can change from both ends. Where Rocco, I think Rocco is a little bit more stout. He carries the ball in his right hand. He has that left hand fan. He's got a jig on that outside, which is preferable on that right hand side. So I think more than likely Rocco stays on that right, and obviously Ali can play on both sides.
Yeah. All good stuff, guys. And so just going back to Leotoa now transitioning over. I know you've just mentioned that he's going to do seamlessly well. Can we expect a little bit of comms issues or even awareness from the centre to wing partnership with Pompey? Although they're probably working on it in training in certain situations, but in a real life situation, is there some concern there for those two working together?
Yeah, definitely, bro. Definitely. I think a lot of it. I think Pompey, his footy IQ is there as well. Like, I think Pompey, the way he reads the game, he's so mellow as a personality. I think that's going to be the little thing that Ali is probably going to have to, like, because Tane's very, like, he's switched on very quickly. Like, he just goes like that.
Yeah.
So I think Tane makes the first move and Ali can play off the back of that. I think with Pompey and him, I think Pompey's so relaxed that we're probably going to see maybe early on in the game a little bit of a them trying to figure out like, their reads,
Yeah.
stuff like that. But once they settle in, I think Bumpy, as I said, he's very like, calm. He's got a calm demeanor. So I love that. He'll work from the inside first and then shift out. That's the way our defense works overall, is we don't like people going through the front door. We want them to go through our edges. And I think that, in areas with his long reach and stuff like that, I think Bumpy can do a job on that wing.
No, fair enough. And if there is some disconnection, we'll probably see it. But I think based on, the principles of the defensive system, like you said, we don't let anything through the middle. We always check that and push out. That technically Pompey should be playing the right options. He's a smart footy player as well. And out and out pace. The Tigers, I'm not sure if they have. We'll get to them, but I think we can. If we play it smartly, we should be able to, call a good game. Although Galvin can, we'll get to him, but there's a few threats to be careful of, no doubt. Okay, let's move on, man. I mean, just going on Webby, he hasn't really changed much, and fair enough. The team he selected and how he's played them has been really consistent. I'm just being preemptive, or even it's kind of like a devil's advocate. You don't mess with the guys that are going well right now. When you're in a flow, why change it? But is there some thoughts around rotating players to protect them? And I'm talking maybe the likes of Egan, someone he's probably on the high priority list in my opinion. But are we at that stage in the season? I know it's super early to be having this conversation, but is it worth, giving Egan a rest in a few rounds and then bring him back after a game to prevent some type of burnout, or am I just being paranoid? What's your thoughts, Ash?
I think there's a couple of ways you could think of this. I think number one, I'm not a big proponent of just like, moving pieces and rotating and stuff like that, especially in first grade NRL. And I think with defensive systems, you want to be like the first thing of an NRL squad is connection. You want a connection within a squad. You want to know that person inside you week in, week out, especially someone like Wade Egan, as in the fact of like he's a spine member and he's so vital to how we play our football. So I think that, and it's the second thing I'll bring up too is I don't think we're in a position to really be like, all right, we need to rest players here and there. I think coming into this year, different, like let's say if we're a top four side or like a Melbourne Storm side, right, where, we know there's going to be a point in this year where we probably do need a rest for a state of origin and stuff like that. We don't have a lot of players that are going to jump over to state of origin. So I feel like, we're chasing an 8 spot as well. So I think that we're going to have to have guys hands on deck week in, week out. I think the boys are well enough to do that too. I think that we got areas covered, like, having Dimitri and Leka on the bench as well, playing, 20 to 30 minutes a week. As soon as someone drops out because they're having that little taste of first grade in and out, I think that helps them for when they do step up to bigger minutes, they can do so. And like in general, I think that, in first grade, these boys with the bye period, stuff like that, there should be good recovery there. So I'm not too worried about resting players or anything like that. Yep. I don't want to tinker with squads too much. I think that when you run a squad out there, 1 to 17, you want that 1 to 17 week in, week out, and consistently just build on the program. Because as we saw over the weekend, we'll touch on the game with the Roosters or like our thoughts coming up with the Tigers. But, defensively been very stout to start the season. We're moving well. Attack still something that needs to be built on, and we need to build combinations. So we can't do that with rotating pieces, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I appreciate everyone in the chat saying I am a little bit paranoid. I thought it's just one to ask early because we have seen. I mean, Rogers' injury just makes me think of other stuff. But I actually agree with that. Keeping that connection there while it's there. Just going back on the topic of the depth. I mean, our depth is really killing it at the moment. They're all in form. They're all doing really well. Is that more of just a situation now where it's looking at if we run our 17 really well until they get injured, then we've already built in the connection with the depth coming from the cup. That's how we're going to roll instead of these early rotations, try and take protect guys that have had even off season with Pacific Championships and that type of thing.
Yeah, and plus, like I think it's the biggest tick to a systematic system compared to a very erratic system, if that makes sense. Like the Warriors play a very similar brand of football from top all the way down to our juniors, and our coaches do very well to reiterate Webby's game plan to a lot of our junior bases and stuff like that. So our New South Wales Cup team plays very similar to our first grade squad. If there's any injuries, any disconnection, our boys train together, and that those boys usually plug and play. Very similar to what the Dogs do, so on and so forth, in very systematic type systems. Still, obviously, the Warriors, if Luke Metcalf and Shanaris DeVita go down, it's going to take a little bit before, if we do mix and match, it's going to take a little bit of time before those guys that step up, Tanner Boyd or Tamate Martin, can fill in those roles and do it to full percent, to full effect. But overall, there should be a way of if someone falls out, the next guy, cab off the rank, knows their job because that system is built for that job, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. Yep. That's actually a really great way to look at it, guys. And I think the benefit, I talked with Alex last night, that all 5 teams had wins or close to wins or had good performances. Look, as long as our depth cup players are playing well and informed, you look at Tamaide, even Tanner Boyd's looking really good. We're both impressed with how he's rolling. You want that seamless transition if you do have an injury. I remember MGT came in, was it their last period when Tamaide came in, MGT came in, and he was part of 2 or 3 wins. You want guys coming in, making the impact straight away. So good way to look at it. But yeah, just keep an eye out for stuff for sure. Hey guys, thank you for 118 of you guys in here, man. Welcome anyone that is new. We've got some people in the chat. I've just seen Nephilim, welcome in, and I saw another brother Rugby up there. If you're new in here, please hit that like and subscribe. We just hit 2K. We're on the road to 3K. But yeah, hit the like, guys. 117 of you. Can we get 100 likes tonight? We like to get minimum 50. You can get us up to 50. Then we'll get on the road to 100 as it helps the content to grow and develop. So, but this is a good topic. Good topic to think about and actually look at the processes of how we approach. I think if we just quickly talk about the players, look a bit fitter. They look a lot like the middles look very solid, and I think that's probably the impact of JFH and Aaron Clark.
Agreed.
We had players like Tohu. We love them, but they were injury prone, and obviously he's retired. There are players on the outer too, that probably weren't performing as well mentally. I think this is probably the best team since 2023 that everyone looks pretty connected. Do you put that up to just fitness, or is that just getting the right personnel in and building those connections?
I think it's a multitude of things. Listening to Webby come into the season and his chat about, because this is the thing is obviously last year was a down year for what the standards were for the Warriors, what we set. Webby come out and said that preseason obviously was really which each and every, what would you call it? It was very disruptive. There was flooding, obviously, and stuff like that. The boys missed out on a lot of connection time. Their training probably obviously wasn't up to standard due to a shorter preseason. Coming to this one, we learned a lot of those lessons. We had a longer time preseason wise. The boys got whipped into shape, and I also do think that is a little bit of Fisher Harris coming to the club and lifting a standard. So which is really good to see. We got back to the 2023 standard of coming in, working hard. Remember that off season was a long off season as well. Preseason because we didn't make the finals the year before. Now we got to learn that lesson if we were to make finals this year, and that's a big if. Obviously, Webby's got to learn that lesson of what happened last year. Obviously, weather and all that sort of stuff is taken out of our hands, but we want the boys obviously to work hard and continue to build their fitness. I think I agree with you though. The boys look really, really fit. They're ready to go, and I think their connection is a big thing because that's what we've been talking about big over the off season. Reading Ivan Cleary's book, his belief in connection and all those little connection, moments that they have over the preseason, he holds that to such a high standard because he says in the book, it doesn't matter what system you want to put out there in that football field. If the boys aren't connected and they don't believe, they're not going to play it to full potential. So I think that was a big key piece for our off season this season is that the boys look way more connected and they look fit.
Yeah. Nah, great point, man. And let's move into now, guys. I go back to I've been really impressed with the performances. I think what we're just asking now is just a general overlook of how we can improve. I think I just want to go back to that positive, they just look very connected. That's a really good way of putting it. The middles aren't leaking points this year, which is a great sign, barring, I know Nafahu and I did a little video on that. I thought it was a bit tough on Aaron in that situation, but we can always improve. But yeah, what do you want to see from the performance? And caveat that if we look at this team, we really haven't grown. We haven't been expansive in our attacking play, but this team has been really solid at grinding out wins. I'll throw it at you, Ash. Do we need to be expansive right now? And if we do need, how do we need to be maybe expansive? Or maybe we don't. Maybe we just need to solidify what we're doing already. But what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think just continue to build on what we're setting to play. So I think it reminds me so much of 2023, and the way I read out 2023. If you go check out on my YouTube, there's like a lot of receipts on this, but I believe Webby used that season as like chapters, right? So we started the season, we noticed a hard edge in the Warriors to start that season. Remember, like I remember coming to that season and just noticed that we were just in every moment of the game. Like we just looked harder. And I was like, okay, there's something there. And Webby continued to build on things. And that wasn't a perfect start to that season either. Like we had a period there where we had 3 losses on the trot. I think Metcalf came mid-season because Tamade broke his leg against the Roosters. Or that came around about that part, remember? So, as soon as that started, that's where everything started to take off and our attack started to really build towards the end of the season. Then we had that right side shape that everyone talks about. But that came off the back of our defensive system, and we were the 3rd best defensive side that year. And a lot of people forget about that. We weren't even one of the best attacking sides that year. We were well below some of the best attacking sides of that year as well. So I think that if we just hone in on defensive system, continue to build on what we have, I think our attack will grow over time with the more connection that Luke Metcalf and Chanel has. I don't think we got to play too expansive. I think, overall, if you look at sides like the Canberra Raiders, even though they got smoked over the weekend, the Dogs, the Penrith Panthers, in those sort of senses, they are very, they just beat you over 1,000 cuts over time and they'll just continue to overwork you. And I think that's an edge that we have on our side this year.
Yeah, it's that philosophy of that, what was it? I'm not sure if Cleary mentions this, but those positive actions over multiple times throughout a game will eventually lead you to winning a game, And if you continue to do those actions repeatedly, it shows that it will more than often than not win you games. I'm really big on that. I think a lot of people are asking for, solidifying those things as well. And I think just going back on the attack, I mean, the halves do need time to develop.
100%.
But I've always said that they're working well at what they're working at right now. I think another big one is Egan out of dummy half has picked up too. So everyone's taking a little bit of a different approach to how we play this year. It's more direct and one-off, but also dropping guys back underneath. I think they're kind of going into that. Do we need to go double leads more often, or someone mentioned here, kicking in goal, finding grass, those types of things, or do we just need to continue to just build that pressure slowly? Or, what's your thoughts in that space?
Yeah, I think that stuff that will come. I think that we've learned after the last couple of seasons that that stuff will come mid to late, usually. Webby even says it in like his press conference. He says that, attack takes time. Like it does take time. Connections build time. And just having the same people on the park week in, week out, that's going to bode better in our season over time to where it becomes obviously to where we're going to start seeing double lead shapes, stuff like that. Is just at the moment we're buying into the little things and we're setting a base platform. It's like a house, right? You don't want to build like, a little bit of brick here and then just build a brick like over there. You can't really do that, right? Like you got to build it brick by brick and continue to grow and grow and grow. I know some people would call it more boring football at the moment with the way it looks clunky, which it does 100%. Like Luke Metcalf still learning to be a halfback in NRL. But I think over time you will start to see the positives that we are putting into place right now, knowing that no matter what, we can defend a lot of our errors. We can defend a lot of the moments. If we just keep the ball down the opposite end of the field and keep peppering that try line, more times than not, we're going to find a try line. So I think attack will grow over time. I really do.
Just quickly on Strictly's comment here. Sorry, no, what was it? I missed it. One up here. Second phase. I think we did see a bit of second phase when Lecker came on.
Agreed.
Picking the right moments. I think someone like Lecker, he can get that offload away because he's so strong.
Yeah.
But that changed the momentum that led to the CHT try. But maybe a little bit more of that. I agree with you. If we're on the ascendancy, but within balance as well, I think is a great point. Just quickly here, Zach, appreciate, man. If you want to become a member, it doesn't allow you on your mobile phone, but if you go on your web browser and go through your desktop, there's a join button where the subscribe button usually is, and you can join that way, bro. And we have our reserve grade package and first grade package. So let me know whichever one if you have any trouble, let me know. But otherwise, I'll help you out, man. Hopefully that helps.
And before you jump over to on that
Yep.
point before on the question that was put up, like the second phase. So kind of think of our game plan as in like just the long game plan, right? We're not going to attack like, second phase at the start of a game because more than likely both teams are fresh. Teams will end up getting ascendancy with momentum and they'll end up putting a lot of like pressure on our try line that which soaks our energy towards the end of the game. I think our game plan predominantly looks at, obviously, the way I see our game plan in general is field position, get down the opposite end of the field, tire out that middle as much as you can, and all the points will come late. And we've seen that the last couple of weeks when our game plan goes well, the points come late. That's when we start playing a little bit more expansive is when everything starts loosening up and then we can start, throwing the footy around a little bit more. I think early on in the game, we're going to stay tight, composed because we want that other team to crack first with an error and stuff like that and continue to compound things over time. And then you'll start seeing our momentum and everything, start to come free. When Lecker comes on the field, couple of offloads start going and then the boys start rolling. So think of it that way. We don't want to throw offloads to start the game because they'll put us on the back foot. We want to build into a game, build our defense start first of all, and then we'll get into the points of, second phase, stuff like that during mid to late in the game.
I will just address this now. I didn't intend to get into the halves. I thought they've been playing well.
Yeah.
But Alex and a few others have mentioned about Metcalf's run meters. Do you attribute that to still adapting to being an organizing half? I mean, we know SJ's run meters weren't super high, and maybe the system is more of a organizing type role, or is that maybe Metcalf was a little bit off the pace because he is a runner naturally? Maybe he's just finding it difficult finding the right spots to engage himself as a runner. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, it's got to it's going to take time before Met can really figure out his running game behind being a number 7 as well in first grade. Like listening to Todd Carney and Mitchell Pearce talk about going from 6 to 7. Like Todd Carney went to 6, and then when he went to the Sharks, they tried to make it into a 7 from memory, or it could have been the opposite, vice versa. But anyway, he was saying that like obviously it took away from his running game. It took him a little while before he started to find spots where he can actually run. Because think about it, like Metcalf's been so used to running at the third man, right? Playing out the back of shape, playing in that 6 jersey, very similar to like a fullback, right? That running game doesn't bode similar to a halfback, which is running more close to the ruck and hitting more dummy leads on your 4-man, stuff like that. So I think that like overall, I wouldn't be too harsh on Metcalf early on in the season. Allow him to grow. He will find himself to where he will start running a lot more, I believe anyway. I think he's just setting into little things that he can get right. First of all, getting the boys around the park. Yeah. And I think when the momentum builds and Metcalf finds his tune, he'll end up striking. But at the moment, if we're picking up wins without Metcalf playing incredible football because the whole team's playing great football, it just bodes for him well in the future to where like he can have the Manly Seagulls game where everything starts to go really, really well, and late in the game, that's when all these run meters and all that came into the game, right? I think from that Manly game, he had a couple of runs early, but then he kind of went back to that real positioning, and then next minute he came late minute of the game when Manly started to really break down. That's when his running game came back out again. I think the Roosters were very stout over the weekend and didn't really allow him to really do that in general anyway. I think a lot of it came from the middle, very tough defense. I think when we see a little bit more space, we'll see Metcalf probably take the run option a little bit more as well.
Yeah, good comment here, Kulan. Welcome in, man. You can't always count on one game plan. You still have to seize the moments to play footy. It's a game of balance. There's one recipe, but the best thing to do is control what is control. Yeah, control what he can control right now, I think. As you build confidence, you start to develop more. And like you say, look, he's got the opposite half or center jamming him all the time, turning him back inside. So there's going to be challenges for him. But I'm actually really building confidence in this halves pairing, and I just don't want to just because Tamati's having a great time in cup as well. I don't want to throw everything out the baby with the bathwater right now. I just like I said, still give these guys time to develop and build. But I think there's some valid reasoning as to why. Of course, you can prove, but if you watch that game, the Roosters game, it was a grinded out. No one wanted to make a mistake. No one wanted to do something. We saw CHT when he tried to run on a short ball and he knocked it on. It was kind of one of those games where the next person to break, is going to lose the game. And I think Metcalf's probably thinking about the game a lot more right now. He's in the thinking phase. When you learn something new, you have to watch the recipe. You have to learn the steps, and then you eventually learn the recipe or whatever it is, and you start to do it without even thinking. It's like my wife, she gave me butter chicken recipe, and I had to pull out all the spices. But now I know all the spices to grab. It's just second nature. You know what I mean?
It's like this is a learning spot for him as well, bro. And I think in general too, I think people have got to understand, how many games did you rewatch? How many times did you rewatch the game over the weekend, bro? Like I rewatched the game three or four times. I did my normal rewatch. I did rewatch again. It's because all the emotion comes out of the game. I know what's going to happen, but I know things I need to look out for. And then we'll do our slow-mo rewatch, right? I didn't think Metcalf was that far off the pace. And when we start looking at like things like Bloke in a Bar, stuff like that, and incredible content for what they are, but those are guys that watch every game of every round. And like talk to Rugby League Guru, he watches every game of that and as much as he can. New South Wales Cup, SG Ball, so they're watching this game one over and they've got that view set of a notes of that one watch. But when you watch it more and more, you kind of understand of like, these are the situations Metcalf found himself into, and he was learning how to, navigate. I think his best football will come mid to late this season in general anyway. I don't think that we should be looking at Metcalf and being like, he should have hit the ground running in that number 7 jersey when he hasn't played number 7 since back in Newtown Jets, in Cup about 3 years ago. So I think it's just going to take time.
Yeah, it's going to take time, guys. Good chat as always. But let's give it some time. I like what you're saying, Dom, here with someone like a Liquor. I think late in the game, we'll start to see a little bit pressure on defensively, that maybe you might see openings for Metcalf, dummy and go, or try assists. Like for me, a halfback in the system, I prefer try assists more than anything. And with a 5'8", you're probably actually scoring tries and actually run meters more for the 5'8". Well, actually, a little bit of everything. Sorry, I got a fly coming.
So I think of footy, bro. I think of footy. It's kind of like a fight. Like if anyone's trained MMA and stuff like that, or been in a fight, usually you want to set the tone early, right? Like so you want to lay out your base work early on. You want to get to your early things, and all your stuff starts opening up mid to late in the fights because you start to get comfortable. You start seeing things a little bit more. Again, I go back to the game plan, like Metcalf and stuff, they will do a lot of their better work, their second phase work later in the game when they set a good platform to work off of, and then they'll build off top of that. And I think that's with a lot of sides in this competition, you got to build off a good base, and then your attacking football starts to go off the back of that. And that happens mid-game as well. So allow these boys to grow into their season, allow them to learn and stuff. And hopefully you caught that fly, bro. How's that fly going in the back there?
The missus is trying to get him right now, but I'll get him if he comes back around. He's a little pissed. He's worse than Reed Marnie, this little fella. He's really taking it to another. Got him Miyagi. I know, strictly. Thank you very much, Tony. We appreciate you always, man. Thank you for your kindness, helping the channel. We do appreciate that. Future is bright. It is. I'm feeling really good about this year, and I love it from a perspective of just like an underdog team again. We're natural underdogs, the Warriors. We can't get away from that. That's part of our who we are. So why not ride it and make the best out of it? But the future's bright, Tony. You're bang on there.
100%.
Yeah, he's the chopstick. Right. There he is. There he is. One sec. Let me get this sucker. Oh, he's in the bloody corner. He's a bit tough to get there.
Here we go. Oh, look at you.
Righty hell. Sorry, this is... All right. We'll get him, people. This is part of the show. We'll get him at some point. Okay, let's change topics now. We're going to shoot over to Tigers. The Tiger boys, they are on a roll. And you can't deny that. I'm happy for... I got a soft spot. I kind of like the 2010 era Tigers when... Sheens had them playing amazing attacking footy. That era was
Benji.
great. And I feel for them. They've had a tough run. But it's good to see that they have actually developed and got back-to-back wins, building off of defense. I know defensively they're looking really sound. What do you make of the Tigers so far? I think it's really hard to predict them as being legit or top 8, but just general, where do you think they are as a team, and can they, is what we're seeing from them sustainable, or is it are they a legit team to be worried about?
Yeah, I think overall they're very connected this year. I think that's the first thing that I started to notice is all the boys coming out of that claw, celebration, Luai, Taruva, coming from what they were at Penrith and how connected they were. I think that's the best thing that they've brought over to the Tigers is try to connect these boys on more of a friendship. I think they're all very, very close. Terrell May, they know the boy, they all know each other very well. Game plan wise, I think they set themselves a really good base. Just looking at some of the stats there at the moment, they're the second best completion rate team under us, 85%, where they're 83%. They're running very well. They're putting off a really good platform with post-contact meters being the third best in the competition, where we're number 1 in the competition. Run meter wise, they are fourth, under us as well. So they're setting a good platform for themselves. But I think the biggest stat that everyone's obviously big keyed in on after their first 3 games of the season, so be it. Not the greatest sides that they've gone up against to start the season, but we don't know where sides are going to sit, where they start the season in general anyway. But they're the best defensive side at the moment on average. I think they're only conceding 11.1 points per game on average. So that's a positive look for their side at the moment. I think majority of that comes down to their scramble defense and their connectivity, and I put a lot to that. I still think there's areas you can get at the Tigers, and I think a lot of people that knows the WhatsApp chats, stuff like that. There's areas that I still think the Tigers lack, and there's certain key members that lack in certain areas that we can get at. But they've been very connective, and you just know that they're very confident in their game plan. So they're going to be there for a good 80 minutes, and I'm really excited to see what they can bring against us on the weekend.
Yeah, these are some of the harder teams to predict, and a team like this reminds me of ourselves, a team that you're not really sure of in the past. And they can blow you away. We've blown really good teams away 20, 30 points on a hot Sunday afternoon in Sydney. And it's where did this team come from? And maybe that is a bit of a vulnerability, that there isn't too much predictability.
Yeah.
They've got scramble D. You think you're away, and then, they make a try-saving tackle, and then it starts compounding when maybe we get errors. I'm just trying to think of, when the variables are very readable, it's easier for a coach to manage them. But if there's too many variables where they're off the cuff, Luai had love to step in around, he plays a bit of touch footy, that starts to stress your middles a bit. You can get these quick play that Galvin's just a gunslinger at the moment. He's so young and free that he's floating the ball over the top. You've got all sorts of action. It's almost like we have to go in there and really control them and make sure that they're not let out of the cage, to use that example.
Exactly.
And so I just think I'll chuck it back to us. What do we need to do to kind of deal with those invariables that we can't manage, and how do we deal with them as a team?
We just got to play our game plan to the fullest extent. So obviously field position is a big part of our game plan. I think that the Tigers, with the erratic movements that they usually do make, they will be willing to obviously try to shift on our edges. Probably not as good as what a Manly could do. Like when we came up against Manly, how good they shifted due to how connective they are and how structured they are on the edges with their shape. The Tigers are a little bit more erratic with their shape. You don't know what you're going to get, but if we hold in together in the middle and allow them to play sideways, there will be errors in their game. They still have some errors to their game as well, even though they're still completing fairly well. We need them to stay down the opposite end of the field and not attack on our try line as much as possible. And we've been very, very good at that this season. We haven't lost too many territory battles. We've won the opposition 20 battle on all 3 games this season. Even in the Raiders games to start the season, we were very good at field position battle. That's probably the best way to beat the Tigers, is really attack them through the middle. Make sure you overwork them through the middle. I think we can do that for sure. And just, obviously have more attacking time on their try line to end up cracking them over time. I think the Dolphins over the weekend, where they fell short, they got out to their lead. but errors started to come into their game. They kind of shut the gate a little bit, and the Tigers kind of they snuck around the fence and they started to really build their game over time, and they end up coming home with a really good win after, back-to-back errors in the Dolphins. They really started to come away from their game plan. So if we're very stout and we just stick focused throughout this whole game, very similar to what we did to the Roosters and the Manly Seagulls, I think we have a good ability to get a good win against the Tigers. I still think it's like a 1-12 sort of contest. I think it's going to be close. But if we play our game plan the way it should be played, I think we can come away with a victory in this one.
So let's just chuck this at you, Ash. Say we do get into a situation where Tigers score 3 quick tries and it's kind of an ambush.
Yep.
We're kind of 30 minutes in, 16-0 down, just for example. Do you think we got the points in us to get back into a game like that, and specifically against this Tigers team?
Ooh, very, very tough. With the attack that we're throwing right now, we've shown ability against Manly that we can put 36 points on the board for sure.
Yeah.
But if the best way we could do that is just getting back to what we know best and completing our sets and try and change the momentum. Could we come back from a 3-try lead? Yeah, I believe we can. If we just continue to build pressure and stuff over time. But it will be a lot harder if we are behind 3 tries, right? Like, overall, our attack's not as great as what it could be at the moment. So we definitely want to start well and continue to build momentum. It's really hard to wrestle back momentum in first grade these days.
Hey, Josh, appreciate you coming in, man, and can no problem. We agree. It's understandable that if we did get down quite significantly, that it would be difficult. We're not saying it's not impossible, but I appreciate you coming in the chat, man. Great to have other people come in and share your thoughts. So welcome in. Good to see you there. Look, let's get into this combined 17 and we'll talk more about the Tigers and our own boys. Just going to bring up now the combined 17 for you guys. And let me just get this team list going here. So we have Chance versus Jareem Buller at the back. Who have you got in this matchup? And based off of Chance's performance, he's looking quite solid right now. But how's Dream been going? I haven't really been following much. It's a bit of a quiet start for him.
No, he's been fairly good to start the season. He's only been back for 2 games now. He missed out in the first game of the season for the Tigers, but been back for a couple of weeks now, and it's been really, really strong for them. Out the back, I think, Api Coruscant has been a major key piece to them coming back, but I think Jareem Buller offers a lot from the back for them. Out of that battle, though, I've got Chance Nickel-Clockstag at the moment. I think the experience, the work rate he gets through, he's always going to be in the contest. Jareem Buller is a fullback that is very similar to, like, let's say, a Latrell Mitchell type, that if he doesn't get involved very early on, he struggles to get involved later on in the contest. So I've got Chance, just with his work rate in general.
Yeah, and sorry, I'll put Chance in next, but we'll go back to the left wing.
Yep.
We have, I believe it is Pompey versus
Skelton on the left wing.
And someone just said Fa'atape is probably what's going to happen. And Dewey to the wing. Kind of a who do you want to battle that up against, Ash?
We'll go with what the team list says at the moment, because there is a rumor that he probably could play still.
Okay.
I heard that the hamstring wasn't as bad. So we'll go with that at the moment, but there is obviously probably there may be changes game day where we do see Fa'atape in this lineup and they might change things around a little bit. But at the moment, Skelton's there, so we'll just go with Skelton.
Yeah, you're going to give it to Skelton? I think.
Skelton versus Pompey? I would go Skelton over Pompey. I think he's been a really key member to the West Tigers this season. As I said, run meterage, post-contact meters, he's been a major key piece of that as well, with Terrell May and stuff like that. I think he's bowed them very well to start the season. He's very similar to a Greg Marju type, so I really enjoy what Gerald Skelton's been doing for the Tigers.
Yep, fair enough, and natural winger, all that type of thing. Week in, week out. Let's go now to the right wing. We've got Tane versus Taruva. I feel this is pretty much a Taruva, based on experience and all the things that he's brought. He's had a good transition, hasn't he, over to the Tigers or Taruva?
Very good, man. Very good. I think 6 tries in the last couple of games, right? He's had a couple of hat tricks. So he's been unreal for them. Again, just that 4-time. Well, he was there for three premierships, I think, for the Tigers. So for the Panthers, sorry. So he was a major key piece for them when he came in. And he's been really good for the Tigers. I think he just brings a ton of energy on that edge. And he relays a lot of what Jerome Luai wants out of a winger as well. So he's been unreal.
Yep. Fair enough. We're going to go now to left centre. It will be Leatoa versus Dewey, I think, at the moment. Is that right? Yep.
Trying to think. Yeah, it would be Dewey. Yep, that's correct.
Stafford's on the other side. Okay. Well, Leatoa's had a great run. Dewey's been pretty consistent too with what he's been doing.
Yep.
Who do you give this one to? I mean, the young buck Leatoa has been on form too. I can't really take that away from him. But Dewey is kind of their veteran player. Who would you go in this situation?
This one's really tough because I really like Dewey. Dewey. I think he's been a really solid member for a long period of time. But with a couple of injuries, he's been very good this season. I thought for the Tigers, very consistent, very stout. I'm going to sway the way of upside at the moment with Ali Leatoa. Unfortunately, Adam Dewey, with the amount of injuries and stuff, he's been pushed to the centre role and he's done a good job there. But I think Ali's got the higher upside right now. And he's definitely in form. So I'm going to go Ali Leatoa. But this one's a really close one because Dewey's goal kicking, he's been really, really strong. So I want to point that out as well.
Yeah. No, he's doing well for my super coach, Bloomin' Dewey. He's good to have on hand. He's good to have on hand, that fella. Okay, now we'll go to the right centre. Berry straight back from injury. Stafford tore. Stafford's kind of inconsistent, maybe, or he has good games. I'm not sure. What Berry just coming back. Should we give this to Tor, or is this kind of you think you're so believing in Berry that he's a better player than Tor? Where do you sit on this one?
Going both of them fit because both of them have been dealing with injuries. Stafford Toa more so than not. If Toa's on, Toa's one of the better centers in the league. Like he is so fleet-footed. He's very solid. But I think consistency-wise, I got to have Berry. I think that Berry has shown week in, week out when he's in first grade that he'll turn up and he'll give you a 7 to 8 out of 10, where Toa can give you a legit 3 out of 10 out of nowhere, and then he could give you a 10 out of 10. Like, if he's playing Valentine Holmes week in, week out, he'd give you a 10 out of 10 and look incredible. But against a lot of other centers, he can throw up those 3 out of 10. So Rocco, I'm going Rocco. He'll give you a good 7 week in, week out. Should
but that's close. The chat's going for Tor. Should we? I know it's a tough one, but could we give it to Tor? Being at home, I don't know. What do you think? We could for sure. As I said, like his best is like really legit. It's just like I could probably count really on my hand the times that he showed us his best. Where like Rocco, you can just say week in, week out he'll plug it. So. If the chat's saying Toa, we could put Toa in there just to sway 50-50. We'll just give it 50-50. What's his name? What's his actual name? Stafford, eh?
Stafford. So STAR.
There he is.
There you go.
We'll just give it for the sake of argument and fairness. Okay. Let's go now into the halves. This is a good little battle. Galvin versus CHT. I mean, Galvin has been on a tear a little bit, but at the same time, I don't want to discredit CHT and what he's doing.
Yep.
Where are we at with this one? I'll trust your judgment on this one because I haven't watched much Galvin, but Galvin seems to be the level above. Oh well, he's playing well. What would you say, Ash?
He's very, very good, bro. Very, very good. He's a very talented player. What I love about him is he never allows the game to go away from him. He always wants the ball in his hands. He touches the ball like 50 to 60 times a game. Like he is always on ball. I love Chanel to death, and I think Chanel has been a really key piece to us defensively. I think he's the better out of the two. But I think Galvin, his attacking upside, he just always is at the game. Where like sometimes Chanel can go like in and out of games at times. He's been very good for us this season, right? But I think that Galvin's upside is probably a little bit higher than to have Harris Tavita at the moment. So I'm going Lockie Galvin.
Yeah, we'll give it to you. I like him as a player. I just don't like the backroom stuff where his manager's got him saying, "Oh, he's going to leave. We want to get He wants
Tigers got him hostage.
He wants 20 years for 25 million right now. The way his manager's speaking, I'm like, bro, I think you need. Well,
Dylan Brown made that contract go sky high. So that's the thing is the market at the moment is completely shot up, and Lockie Galvin's going to get a mozza.
Look, bro, he wouldn't be dumb to get 15 million for 8 years or something like that. 15 million. And I know it's not Premier League or NBA level, but based on the Pacific and Australia wages, mate, you
big money.
You're making 15 million over 10 years or whatever, bro. You're living life. You're set up for life. So, fair enough. Okay, let's go this one here. Luai versus Metcalf. Good little battle in terms of you can go on, on Luai's history and everything, and 4 premierships. And Metcalf being a little bit quiet, still finding his feet. I would naturally go Luai for the sake of, and maybe his intangibles bringing, success to the Tigers early on. The leadership, kind of like a Crichton there. Would you give that to Luai in this current situation? Although I haven't been watching totally what he's been doing, but I imagine that he's a big part of why they've been successful as well. But Metcalf's still doing well as well.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I want to preface when I'm saying this, like, Metcalf's been unreal, and I still believe he can be our halfback, and he'll grow into a great halfback, into the future. But Jerome Luai at the moment, he has the runs on the board. He's won premierships. He's, even in that 7 jersey, having to take over from Nathan Cleary, he showed last year he was able to do that at a higher click. And with the Tigers in form at the moment, playing the way they play, you got to go Jerome Luai. I think that at the moment there's a bit of a distance here, but if you go on 7 for 7, like Jerome's not playing the 7 role perfectly either. Yeah, true. So I think people got to understand that as well. The Tigers coming up against a little bit of softer competition in my eyes. Anyway, they can show their erratic attack and it can work in areas, but if we're going player for player here, Jerome Luai is the better player at the moment for sure.
Yep. I think that's in the fairness. P-Man with Luai has done nothing so far. Look, time will tell. Some people are arguing here Metcalf hasn't done anything. I just think both kind of starting in new roles, but I definitely feel that Luai brings that extra of premiership experience to impact the game, no doubt. Okay, let's transition now into the props. We'll go with Terrell May versus Fish.
Easy.
Terrell's, as you can tell, Ash is really anti-Terrell. I like Terrell. I like him. I love his content too. I like, I love, but I agree with you. I think there's levels to this, but Fish is. I
want to reiterate overall is, all right, Terrell May. I think he seems like a great person. He's a good footballer. Some would say great, this and that. I think he's a really good attacking footballer. He's got incredible fitness. He can go up and down. He can make 20 runs per game. He averages probably like 8 meters per run, which is okay as a prop forward. When people say he's like a Payne Haas, he's not a Payne Haas. Like, he's just got a really high work rate. He's got a good fitness base, but post-contact meter-wise, like Payne Haas just like leaves him in the dust. We're going play for player here. Fisher Harris is such a better defensive player. I mean, like, Stark is better defensive player, in my opinion. I think that his lateral movement defensively, you'll see it over the weekend if we do attack the Tigers' middle, is a big difference. I think that Terrell May's marker, defensive work is lacking in areas as well. I saw this in Samoa. Obviously, I watch a lot of, I love Samoa. I watch a lot of Samoa games, and he disappointed me over there. He's been incredible to start the season for the Tigers, but if I had to choose out of those two, I'm choosing Fisher Harris day in, day out. Like, I think that he can live up there with the attacking, but the defensive work rate, he's completely out of the water. So I'm going James Fisher Harris.
Yeah. I see people in the chat saying May, and it's like that argument we had with AFB and Fish. It's different type of thing, and you can see it with our guys specifically. The connectedness, everything that we've talked about. Fish is bringing that in levels. If you really look deep in it right now, you'll see that he's creating that levels. I do see. I think May's a great player, but you do see some of those lapses in play. And who's to say that he won't get better under Benji and that? So, but we'll go with our boy because we do believe in that.
As I said, it's just like the only thing I got over Terrell May is defensively, his movement side to side is just not there, and sometimes he misreads. Like the Dolphins attacked that over the weekend, they got a beautiful try out of it with Herbie Farnworth's try. If everyone wants to go rewatch that. And if you go rewatch the Samoa versus England, that's what his deficit is in the game. But the opposite end, he does carry for a ton of meters, so people are going to see that statistically. And those stats of line breaks in that area, that doesn't come up as a missed tackle stat. So every content creator that goes out there says 34 tackles, only 1 miss. Yeah, but he didn't even get close enough to get that missed tackle stat. Like I had the same problem with AFB in moments last year. He's very similar to AFB where his work rate's incredible, but there's moments in defense where AFB lacks in that this mobility. The Panthers attack it over time. And if the Panthers would choose Fisher Harris over Terrell May week in, week out, or Adam Fanor-Blake week in, week out, why would I not choose Fisher Harris over Terrell May?
No, it's a good argument, everyone, and I see people going for it. Got no issue with it. This is what we're here to discuss. And the best thing about it is that we can see this on Sunday and see it physically and how it looks against Fisher Harris and Terrell May. But it's great. It's a great argument.
Can't wait to see it.
Really good. Now let's go to we'll go to the lock first, and then we'll go to the last prop. 12 versus Aaron Clark. You know what? I love 12. I reckon he's a guy I would have loved to have gotten. I think he gets mocked a lot for his one try, or whatever it is. But I really rate him as a player, and I think Aaron's been great too. How's 12 been tracking this year? Because I mainly haven't watched him this year, but I watched him a lot. I watched him a bit last year. I think he's a good player. But does Aaron pip him at this stage and how Aaron's playing?
Yeah, very good. He's been very good this year. A guy that just gets through a ton of work rate, right? Like, especially defensively, he cleans up a lot of things in behind the ruck when he can. I think that he's been very, very. He looks like he's a lot fitter this year as well. He's been fit in years past, but his mobility stepped up. Especially in attack, he's actually got a decent attacking game at the moment. He's stepped up in that area.
Decent,
yeah, and Aaron Clark, I think he's been amazing for us as well to start the season. I think back-to-back performances in both our wins, he's been one of our best forwards out in the football field. I really do believe. A lot of people had him man in the match for both games. So at the moment, it's a really close battle. I would choose Aaron Clark over Alex Twal just in the new type of game. I like Aaron Clark as a smaller body, gets for a ton of work. He's got a quick play to ball, all those sort of stuff. But Twal, what he brings defensively is really solid as well. So this could be 50-50. I'm swaying the way of Aaron Clark.
I've got no problem with that either. I think I'll go Clark here. But I've got a soft spot for Alex, man. When I watch him play,
he's unreal.
I like the way he plays. And I think he gets... Who was the person... It's like the Charles Barkley kind of thing. Hindmarsh has mocked the hell out, but Hindmarsh was a blimmin' insane player.
Beast.
I think Hindmarsh is like the Charles Barkley of NRL.
He really is.
You know what I mean? People mock Hindmarsh, but if you go back and he was all Kangaroos. He'd pick all the time. Origin. Yeah, he had some. He didn't crack it in terms of winning premierships, but and the same with Alex Twal. They get the labels of it's like McGee and McGee and NBA now. JaVale's not actually a bad player, but he's got so many of those Shaqting a full moments that it makes him look like he's a bad player. I think Twal has that kind of thing where Twal's actually a decent player, but because he never scored a try in 5-6 years or whatever it was, it made him look worse than what he actually is. So yeah,
exactly.
I still rate him, and I think he's a good player.
I'm right there with you, bro.
Okay, let's go. Now to the other side, it is Barnett versus Fanor-Pole. I think I just want to talk about Fanor-Pole.
Unreal to start the season,
bro. He's a good player, eh? He's a good player, fella. I like him.
Yeah.
Man. I think he's gonna be up there soon. in a year or two, you'll be talking about him as one of the best forwards, like, you know, in the game. But got to agree with like people saying Barnett. But just talk to me about Paulie, man. What have you learned? You know, how do you rate him, and what's his projection for a future talent?
Hey, he's high, bro. Very, very high. I've been really enjoying, and like even with poor Tigers sides in years past, he's been a very good player for them. You know, last week against the Dolphins, ran for over 200 meters, got through a ton of work, and he just looks damaging. Like every time he hits the line, he's got amazing post contact meters. I think he's a really solid player for years to come. And like as I said, like with my my overcorrection on Terrell May, this and this, that, like him and Terrell May are really good 1-2 punch for the Tigers, especially in attack. The way they go forward, they get through a ton of work. You know, Bole's going to be a little bit more high impact, but, you know, Terrell's going to be, you know, go. I think they've built a really good connection, and they've been very, very good for the Tigers to start the season, and it's been surprising for a lot of people as well. So, but out of the battle, I've got to go with the man, Bitch Barnett. You know, just for, you know, he's touched the biggest stage at the moment. Now he's an Australian rep and that, but captain of our club. I think just the tireless work he does week in, week out, and all the little stuff that he does that people don't really look at is, you know, he works on every point of the field. He'll get caught on an edge and he'll overwork, and he's just such an incredible piece to our defense as well. So I'm going him at the moment, but shout out to him for North Bole. He's definitely got a major future.
Yeah, like young talent there. If they can keep on to these pieces, the Tigers, they will develop.
Agreed.
But shout out to them. Okay, we're going to go now to a hooker. I love this one. I love me some Uppy too, man. And that try he scored, I got to personally sway to Uppy personally, but I haven't been watching his total minutes. Egan's been on a tear too. I can't deny that, and he's been great for us. Who do you pick on this one, bro? Which way do you sway?
I'm going Uppy Coruscant, and at the moment, if Wade Egan could stay on it like he has been, right? This is the hard thing about Wade. It is kind of labelled from what he has been in the past, where he can't stay on the football field for long enough. But I think his ability is up there with like an Uppy Coruscant in a way. But because of the work rate of Uppy week in, week out, what he does, I think he's for me, he's the second best hooker in the competition. I still have Harry Grant like leagues above at the moment. Then I've got Uppy, and then we'll play off the back of that. But he's an incredible hooker, Uppy Coruscant. He last week against the Dolphins, he was the man. Like the way he dictates that ruck, his deception from the ruck, very similar to Wade Egan, but what he was doing to Tom Gilbert out there was like, and like the way he keyed in on, you know, Cody Nicodemus in the line, like he is such a great player, and he's been incredible for them. He helped the Panthers dynasty as well. Like I can't say enough great things about Uppy Coruscant. I think he's an incredible hooker.
Yeah, bro, I love his game, and I love Egan's game too. I just think Uppy has that. He's just got that little edge over Egan in terms of that totality of impact, and but it's a good little battle. It'd be great to watch those two go at it, and that's a great one to watch. Be a good game. There's actually heaps of good little matchups here. Like we've just been arguing for Terrell May and Paulie, and you got Fisher Harris and Barnett, like two young pups going up against the older vets.
100%.
12 versus Clark. You got the halves. We've given the halves to the Tigers, and then we're vouching for Metcalf in a little bit, and then there's the Leia and Berry battle. You know, it's a good little game, this one, and it's building up to be a really good one. Let's get to the edges now. We've got who's their left side? Is it Fainu? I'm thinking Samuel Fainu versus Capewell. Is that right, or is it Seyfarth on the left?
So Fainu plays on the left side.
Okay.
Yeah. So it'd be him versus Capewell for sure.
So let's go Fainu versus Capewell in this one, guys. I can't lie, I haven't even been watching Fainu. I don't know his game very well. Capewell's been solid for us. But I'll let Ash kind of lead me on this one. What's Fainu's game, and does it outweigh the veteran and Capewell at this point in time?
I think it just does at the moment. I think Capewell's incredible for, like, again, like I'll shout Capewell's praises for what he does, all the little things that he does for us, right? And we seen moments last week where he went from his opposite end of the field, defended on the right edge when he had to clean up a lot of work there, and then switch back to his left hand of the field. He does a lot of things that people don't notice, so I appreciate that. But Samuel Alafanu, his upside is really, really high. Like he's a damaging edge back rower, runs the ball hard, hits beautiful lines. I think that we have an opportunity to get under his skin and like get him off his game because he's very highly emotional. But he's actually reined that in fairly well this year. So I'm waiting to see if we can do that. It'll be Murata Niokore running on that edge. And I think that's going to be a great battle because Murata can take it sometimes when he gets in that mood. He can take it one-on-one like he did with Dave Fafita. Hopefully he does that this weekend. I would love to see it. But I think Fainu's future is very, very high. So I'm going Fainu here.
Wow, that's a good shout. And it's great to have you, Ash, explain these ones when I don't, to be honest, I'm not watching every game, but the fact that you notice those little things about Fainu's game is why, this is great to have these discussions and actually, guys, keep an eye out for Fainu. See how Murata and that cope with his lines and his aggression. Good little matchup there, I'm imagining, just based on what theory I can make up in my head right now. So let's go to the other edge. And we're going to go Murata versus Seyfarth. Saw Seyfarth got over the line. Seyfarth typically a middle forward or a lock usually, is he?
Used to be, yeah. He's moved to an edge now because the Tigers are struggling with edge depth. Like they don't really have too many good edge back roles, in my opinion, other than Samuel Alafanu, who's their like star boy on their edge, basically. That's their damaging one. That's one that, like, when we talk about edge back rollers that open up attacking shape, Samuel Alafanu is one of those guys, right? Where you're going to have to key in on him, and that creates shape for the outside, right? And it creates space for the outside. Seyfarth is going to be a toiler. He's going to be your Kurt Capewell in a way. He's going to do a lot of dirty work. He's going to get through a lot of dirty work. Where Murata Niokore, he's like the in-between for us. Like he poses to be the real damaging edge back rower, but he doesn't, like, in moments he doesn't really like have that ability, but sometimes he does. But I think out of this battle here, I'm going Murata Niokore at the moment. I still feel like he's the better edge back rower out of the two. But Seyfarth, his work rate and that is going to be definitely damaging to watch out for over the weekend. I just think Murata Niokore probably has a little bit more to his game for an edge back rower, in my opinion.
Yeah. Do you think Seyfarth will kind of neutralize? Him and Capewell will neutralize each other. Kind of. Are they kind of that? They're work rate guys that will just kind of cancel each other out.
Very similar. Again, Seyfarth, kind of similar, as I said, to Samuel Alafanu. They do have a penalty in them. Like, they get highly emotional. Seyfarth is well known for that. Like, you can get a lot of errors and a lot of penalties out of him. So, but he is a guy that you just know that he's going to take it to every contest, right? So, like, he's got that ability of, like, when he crosses that white line, he's going to take as much as he can, and he's just going to work hard. But you can use that to your advantage, and that's why I sway the way of Murata Niokore a little bit to where, like, I think that we can get a lot of love going down Seyfarth's edge with penalties and, piggyback penalties, stuff like that. So that's where I'm looking at.
Well, there goes your 13, guys. Look, it's pretty even. Like, what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to I'd say 6 then. Like, they're a pretty good side, the Tigers, and we're giving them a lot of credit. Based on their halves right now, they are above us. Probably a battle between Tor and Berry. Wings currently, based on injuries, is where they are in favour. So it's going to be a tight, tough tussle if you're looking at it from man to man. But let's go now and make up our best bench. Now, they've got Talon De Silva, Royce Hunt, Jack Bird, and Sione Fainu, with Dylan Walker, Jackson Ford, Dimitrik, and Leka. Good little battle, this one.
Yeah.
I think Talon is probably their hooker rotation. So, they got the hooker rotation with the uppy there, whereas Dylan's more of an impact lock rotation forward. Then you got the Royce Hunt option if you want a bashing middle with a Jackson Ford, who's a hard worker toiler. Jack Bird, a bit of everything, I imagine, when he comes on, with Dimitrik, who's just finding his feet, and Leka, who's coming on and just dominating with a Sione Fainu. I'm not sure what his game is, but I'll let you make up your bench, Ash, and then I'll add in what I think as well. But who's your four there?
All right, so starting off, I got to have Dylan Walker at 14. I think he's if not the best, he's like top 3 best like utility 14s in the competition, right? He's been incredible for us. He has to hold that spot there. Next, I would look at Talon de Silva is one that I really do enjoy. But like now we're only Dylan Walker. I'm going to go Dylan Walker. We're going to go Royce Hunt for impact, even though I don't really rate Royce Hunt very, very highly. I think he's very good for just being that 20-minute go out there and just bash someone and then get off the field, because after that, you're going to be a liability.
Well, Royce's current minutes over Demetrix, you probably say Royce currently, his impact.
Yeah, at the moment. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed, bro. Enough. Agreed. And then I'm looking at Jackson Ford and Jack Bird to finish off. So Dylan Walker, Royce Hunt, Jackson Ford and Jack Bird, I think will fill out the bench. But Talon de Silva is a close one, same as Lecker. So it's a really tight battle, bro. It is a really tight battle. But I'm going to go Dylan Walker, Royce Hunt, because I think Jack Bird can cover so many different positions, and he's been a really key piece to them, especially energy-wise for the Tigers coming off the bench. He's been in a couple of scuffles in and out, but he lifts a lot of energy, very similar to what Dylan Walker tries to do for us.
So no Lecker in this current lineup for you?
No, you know how much I love Lecker. The only thing is, right, I can't, if I got to be, take bias out of it, right, I got to be real. Lecker coming off the bench, he looks incredible. He's going to be incredible this weekend. I'm saying all that, right? But all these other guys that I'm naming have been doing it for a long period of time and doing it at a higher level. Lecker's only been doing this role off the bench for the last, 3 games, right? He's looking incredible, but, I need him over time before he can really jump in that. But you know how high I rate Lecker. I think Lecker's got better potential overall than Jack Bird, Royce Hunt, all these guys. But I think that right now, as it stands, I think these guys' experience over time, I think it's got to bode well, and it's got to beat them out in that area, in my opinion.
Let's do an 18th man. The Silva versus Lecker. Who would you go for?
I would go Lecker.
Are you going Lecker?
I'll go Lecker. I'll go Lecker. Two different players.
A lot of people are talking about the Silva as a good talent. What is it about the Silva that's good?
Very scheming for a hooker. Like he looks like he reminds me of young Sam Verrills. Comes on. He's got really good energy in hooker. Him and Api Coruscant got a really good 1-2 punch now. Like, they have good rotations. So he's a solid hooker for the future. I think the best way I look at him is he's similar to a Sam Verrills, so what they had in the Roosters early days.
Just going back to game tactics, do you think De Silva will have a big impact in the middle of the game to kind of lift the team up and maybe pick up their tempo a bit? It's something to be watching out for. Yeah,
I think he can carry the tempo of what Api brings. Probably not as high intensity as what Api will bring, but he does a good enough job through that period to always be scheming to keep us guessing a lot of times in the middle. And then Api Coruscant, when he comes on, bro, like he just kind of blows everything out of the water because his footy IQ, everything just goes to a whole new level, right? Like you got Talon de Silva that's still learning his craft. He does really well in that mid part of the game while Api's resting up. And then they'll bring Api on to end the game and they just blow things out like they did against the Dolphins over the weekend. It's really hard to handle. But I think with the Lecker Lasima shout, my argument with Lecker, I would be fighting with him over Royce Hunt. Because again,
That's true.
I think,
yeah.
I think Royce is really he's just a big damaging body that people think that he can grow into people see Payne Haas's and stuff like that, but he's just not that. Like he's very much like a Timu Spencer Lenu. Like he'll do that really good 30-minute roll, buster a line, stuff like that. But then for the rest of the game, you don't really see him. Or if you get Corey Horsburgh out there, he'll sort him out anyway. So.
I just chucked it in there for Lecker for the sake of argument. If it was a battle between Lecker and Royce, you bang on. It's just actually, and something to be mindful of. Watch how the impact players impact the game this week. Timmy Spencer Lanny, that's gangster, bro. That is gangster. Spencer's a beast. Far out. He's insane.
He's a beast.
Yeah,
he's a freak.
But I get the sentiment, guys. That's what we came up with. I know a lot of you would have had different, and that's okay. But we're giving you different arguments here, for different matchups. Look, this looks like we'll get into score prediction real soon, but this looks like could be a tight tussle or could be like a game where it blows out either way. It's kind of hard to predict this one. But we'll get into that very soon. But there you go, guys, is that that combined 17 for this game against the Tigers. 99 in the chat, guys. Thank you. We've had about 100 and 110 of you guys coming. Thank you very much. Please hit that like and subscribe if you are new. We're going to go now into our score prediction part of the night. This is where we break it down and we give our view of what's gonna happen. So, Ash, how do you see this game unfolding? We've kind of come up with a combined 17 that looks really good across the board. What do you think is going to be the outcome of this game?
I honestly think we're going to be the biggest test for the Tigers to start the season. And that might not be a crazy thing to say, but I like listening to a lot of people coming into this game. I think that has to be said in a way. Like, I think that we are performing at a very high level defensively this year. Attack's still taking its time, and that's okay. It won't get until its highest point till mid to late. But I think that this game is going to definitely be a forward pack battle to start the game. The Tigers can be erratic, so I believe that the Tigers, out of their own end, they will have errors in them. I think we can get errors out of them, and we can definitely pepper their line. So I'm going close scoreline, though. I'm going like an 18-12, something like that. I think that they'll... Yeah, I'd say about that. Like, I think that we can find a lot of ascendancy for the middle. I hope that we put Tane Tuapiki back through the middle and really come at tired forwards. I think that this is the best forward pack that Terrell May's going to have to go up against, and this is a real big show for me of where Terrell May actually sits in this competition right now. Like, to start the year against the Knights, you had Leo Thompson by himself really, because Saifiti's not really lifting that other end of the bargain. Then we're going Parramatta. Junior Baller's just not been in any sort of form. And I think Jack Williams played front row at that point there. They mixed and matched with their front row. And then last week with the Dolphins, an aging Saifiti and Felice Kafusi started that game. You had Gilbert in the middle at moments, who I really rate. But, this is a big pack. Like, this is Fisher Harris and Mitch Barnett. Defensively, they're alpha dogs, and they're going to want to take it to the alpha dog, and that is Terrell May of the West Tigers. So that battle is going to be crucial. If we can tire him out from the middle and get through his defensive, problems that I've brought up before, we'll have to wait and see if they are actual big problems long term. But I think that we can get at him, and I think Wade Egan's going to do a lot of scheming in behind the ruck. So I'm going 18-12, 1-12 contest. It's going to be a tight one, though. Campbelltown's going to be shaking.
Yeah, they're going to be up for it, man. They're going to be pumped. Their fans have been starved of success, so they're taking back-to-back wins like it's premiership. So it'll be a pumped up crowd at Campbelltown. I do have Lecker going over P-Man. I think late in the game, I think we can see that's actually a good shout there. I think that could possibly happen. T-Mackie, Top Cat, Fat Cat, Samurai Pizza Cat, Swaz by 4. Shout out Samurai Pizza Cats. That was one of my favorite shows back in the day. I don't know if you got that over in Aussie. Maybe probably a bit too young for you, Ash, but amazing show. Amazing cartoon. Really up there. T-Mac is probably the same age as me if he's talking Samurai Pizza Cats. That was one of our favorites back in the day. Okay, I just want to have a quick discussion about the halves.
Yep.
If it is an 18-12 scoreline for us, what will the halves have done to get the win for us?
I don't think it's what everyone's probably hoping for, to where like the boys are slinging to the edges like crazy and really playing a high tempo sort of footy in that sort of sense. I think it's going to be real controlled. I think it's going to be very similar to what we did against the Roosters. Kick to your corners, get your cage sets in, make sure you lock them down in their corner. I think out of the two wingers, if Skelton is playing, I'd rather us kick to Skelton first and then allow someone like a Buller or Taruva try to work it out at the back end instead of kicking to Taruva and have Skelton hit up at that first hit up. I think it's going to be all down to our kicking game, and I think the boys have been actually fairly solid over the last couple of weeks with getting the teams into a corner. Our umbrella defense has been really locking teams down the opposite end of the field. As I said, I don't think people should be expecting at the moment incredible crispy shape. Metcalf hitting 2 big right foot steps and running through the middle. Would I love to see that? 100%. And if there's a game to do that with tired middles, I think Luke Metcalf can find moments like that. But just allow these guys to build a good, sturdy base first, and their attacking football will come off the back of that.
Goal kicking could be the difference, Tom. You might be on there.
It could be.
It's so important. I know a lot in the chat and are saying Tigers.
It's 100%.
We have to wait. It's a hard one to call, a real tough one to call. These are some of the variables are Like we don't know yet. I've calculated for an error on the edge in some form of fashion, whether it's a drop ball from a bomb, just because of the changes. But look, let's just wait and see. But I understand the variables and why people are going in there. But I do have a quiet confidence about the boys that they can do this.
Yep.
If I think the middles are looking pretty solid. I just want to see that again another week. That's all I care about. I'm not actually worried about attack and what we're doing right now. I think that can be solved. I just need to see that consistent middles are always dominating. And if they can dominate these guys at home, I'm feeling pretty good. But we'll wait and see. Yeah. And otherwise, I predict a similar scoreline to you as well.
It's going to be a tight one, bro. 1-12. I think the Tigers, they're up for it, bro. They're confident. As I said, they're very connected at the moment. But like, if I'm looking at forward packs, like I thought the Roosters forward pack was probably a bit more scary for me over last weekend of what their ability can get to. But, you know, it's still, this forward pack on paper is really, really strong. Terrell May's punching out really great numbers and all that. Fanua Bole's been incredible. So this is going to be a tight battle, bro. I think we're just going to have to win the middle first of all, like we do. That's our game plan. And then everything else can come off the back of that, and just allow Metcalf and that to have time, and hopefully they can get the chockies at the end of the day.
This is it too. We just want to see a good, solid performance. Like me and Ash have been big on like just consistency. Even, you know, if you're going to be a top 8 side, you're going to be consistent. And that's what we want to see. Do you think there's some weight, just quickly, another thoughts come to me. Do you think there is some weight to the Tigers' defense right now? I think they're the lowest scoring defense currently, or is that mainly opposition that they've come up against? And maybe you're right; it might lead to a low-scoring game if they kind of cancel each other out. If their defense is legit, what do you make of that?
I'm not too high or not too low on their defense at the moment. I think that they've had real soft competition coming up to this, especially attacking shape-wise. Like the Eels have been nowhere close to their best form. Newcastle in that first game, the amount of errors that they carried, and the Dolphins have been struggling to score for the first couple of weeks as well. I think they've been 3 of the worst attacking sides. Other than Newcastle have been fairly good. The other 2 worst attacking sides in the competition at the moment. So I think this is a really good test. We haven't been the greatest attacking side either, so I don't know if we're going to be worrying them quite a bit as well. But I think they're obviously a better defensive side than what they were in years past. And I think that's a positive for Tigers fans. Do I think they're the best defensive side in the competition right now? No. Like, even though statistically they are, but over, you know, the full 24 rounds of the season, I could put a good bit of money, I reckon, that they're not going to be the best defensive side by the end of the season. I think they'll be a good mid-pack defensive side overall. And that's a great mark for the Tigers from what they were before.
Thanks, Luke. Yeah. The Warriors faithful. All good. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see if that one comes out. And that. Okay, guys. Yeah, hit that like and subscribe, guys. 107 you guys in here. Appreciate all the support we're getting. Hey, good to see you. Great. Yeah, and the variables in the score lines are saying for me this is a game that's just going to be. We'll have to wait and see how it happens, unfolds. Great matchup though. For us, we can throw everything at this game, and know we got the week off.
Yep.
So let's do that.
That's a positive, though,
because you know we go into the bye with 8 points, which is huge. Okay, we're going to transition now, guys, into New South Wales Cup. And look, the boys had a massive game. Tamaiti was on a tear. I caveat that with based on the defense and New South Wales Cup. I think New South Wales Cup's performances are always hard to evaluate, because the level can be quite different,
dire at times.
And actually we've come out, me and Ash, thinking more that Boyd had an underrated performance as well, which shows that at the end of the day you can only play what's in front of you, and Tamaiti played really well. But what did you make of the whole team performance? It absolutely destroyed them. And who are probably the shining lights to come out of that? And are they knocking on the door? Is it Laban knocking on the door? Who else might be knocking on the door in terms of getting against the first grade side?
Yeah, incredible performance. 46-12 over the Roosters in reserve grade. Obviously, great performance. And to start the year 3-0, I think that's a really big positive for the squad in general. As we just touched on, everyone's talking about Tomato Martin, and you guys know how much I love Tomato Martin, and he's so good at what he's doing, especially in New South Wales Cup at the moment. He's definitely leagues above New South Wales Cup. Incredible game here, 219 run meters. Just the amount of line breaks that he had. Bro, he was honestly running ragged out there. He had 3 line breaks, 4 try assists, 2 line break assists. Like, his game was just on fire over the weekend. But as I said to you, I think a lot of people underestimate, like, I thought that Tanner Boyd's just control of the side out there was really underrated. I thought his kicking game was really solid as well. So shout out to him. I thought he ended up setting up, I think, Tomato Martin's first try of the match from memory. Had a beautiful line break, shifted it off to Tomato. Tomato's speed's really underrated too. That's another thing I was like, you know,
he does have toe in him, yeah.
Yeah, and like, you know, off the back of that, Rocco Berry, a great game out there on the edge. Good to see him score a beautiful try there as well, where he streaked away. A couple of big underrated performances. I thought that this kid that I've been watching a little bit now, Fatai Lofa, he has underrated speed for his size. Yep. He comes on as an edge back rower, can play center, and all that from ability. He scored a try off of Tomato Martin last weekend where, guys, if you go check out the highlights, you'll get to see his speed in that little moment. He also scored another try this weekend from memory. The kid's, he's got a ton of speed for a decent sized body. So I'll have to keep an eye out on him. He plays off the bench, so he can play, you know, edge back row. From what I've seen, he could play in the middle as well, but you know, I think he's got the speed and he could play that center position as well. He could be another Eddie Inamira Tuava, very similar. So
yeah.
He's a freak, bro. He looks really strong. Other big performances, I think Tanner Smith like hit the season really well to start the season. He looks fit. He looks ready to go. And Toby Crosby, 7 runs for 73 meters. Doesn't sound incredible, but that's over 10 meters per run. Post-contact meter-wise, he's incredible. And I did see a stat, I think Warrior Holic was talking about it. He's a big proponent of him. He had like a 3-second play to ball multiple times there, which is very, very quick. So very good signs in New South Wales Cup, but everyone's talking about our halves. But there's other little performances that I really did enjoy. As I said, Fatai Lofa, I'm really, he caught my eye over the weekend. He's caught my eye since the start of New South Wales Cup, and I'm keen to see more of him.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of the Union families from over here. Peter Fadialofa's probably nephew or grandchild. Peter's quite old these days. It might be his grandson or someone else. One of his nephews from his brothers. And Ida Mia, I think, is that's a relation to Alana's, maybe Alana's nephew or something. Because I know there's another Ida Mia over in Storm. I think that's Alana's son.
Is that Dean Ida Mia? Yeah.
Yeah. Guys, I just had a random thought. Have we ever won a New South Wales Cup?
Nah, not from memory.
Anyone in the chat, if you can check if we actually have won a New South Wales Cup.
As I said, I think we've had, as like I've brought up the stat, under Webby's tenure as our NRL head coach, with our systems that we played with, we've had our first and third best seasons statistically in Cup. 2011, we got to a final, and that was our second best season. One.
Yeah, that's actually a goal. I reckon we should try and win that Cup. I know we 100%. Won under 20s. We won the Harold Mats last year.
Yep.
We need to build up our trophy cabinet some way, even if it's not first grade. Let's get some New South Wales Cups in the trophy cabinet.
Hopefully NRLW as well.
Yeah, NRLW too. Yeah, that's right. I remember that I was at that grand final. We lost all 3 games, I think, that day, which was sad. It was kind of like a anticlimax, but
we got the ability to get back there this season as well in multiple. I think Harold Mats, we got a good ability to get to the final this year. And the New South Wales Cup for sure.
Keep an eye out, guys, for these guys, Fadialofa and we know Toyava, and
Tanner Smith as well.
Tanner's doing well. You know, these are guys that are really grinding it, and I think they are improving. And they're this is probably the 3rd or 4th year in the system. They will get their chance.
Also, quickly off that too. Tom Ale, he went down with an injury. He got hip drops in that game. Yeah. So he'll be out for a little bit, which sucks. But he looked fit and ready to go this season. I was so excited to see more Tom Ale if there was any injuries in our first grade squad. But we're going to be waiting a little bit now, unfortunately, going down with the injury.
Cool. Okay, guys. Let's go now just to recap the Jersey Flegs and SG Balls and Harold Mets. I just watched the highlights again. I always say go to Warriors Anonymous for that sweet
Unreal.
package of balls of what Gerard's doing. Yeah, forget what I said. But the way he presents it, it's great, Gerard. That's the best way to. If you don't have the bar sports app, what he's doing over there, you get all the line breaks, even not even tries, but just line breaks. So get over there to Warriors Anonymous. But just from what you watched over the weekend, Jersey Flag, I think they went down. I watched some of the highlights. Who did we play? Did we play No, was it Manly or
played the Roosters in Flag?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a up and down game. We started off slow. We end up getting to a nice lead from memory. It was like 22-6 at one point. And then the Roosters just went bang, 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 bang. Or was it 22-8? It was something like that, and just went bang, 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 and they pretty much brought it home. People probably also know Rugby League Guru's brother, Josh Durkin. He was playing for the Roosters in that game, so shout out to Rugby League Guru's brother. But on our end of the field, we just struggle with like consistency in that game. Like, I think we don't have good resiliency in our defense over the line. These young players still like under 21s, like they still got a lot to learn. Luke Hansen had a couple of errors in this game, but he looks a league above this grade. It's probably easy to tell playing New South Wales Cup, right? He looks like he should be back in New South Wales Cup, but obviously with the boys we got there.
I think he's 18th man or something like that. So he might get a look in.
Jet's going to take a little bit more time to learn. He's had some nice touches. I thought he had some nice touches in the game, but he still has a lot to learn, which I think that people got to understand as well, that if anyone's still hyped about Jet Cleary and saying that he's going to be our savior this year, honestly, relax for a little bit. But he's back in this week. Unfortunately, he was out last couple of weeks, but he's back this week. Really, really excited. He was in there last week as well, had a couple of nice touches. And this kid, Jason Salalilo, very, very solid. Number 13, blonde hair. Kid looks really good. Real damaging ball runner. Keep an eye out for him. He's definitely a good talent. And also our number 14 off that bench, Fuka.
Yes.
Yeah, very, very talented as well. And shout out to Taylor Egan. That is Wade Egan's brother from memory. He's fullback this week, coming into this weekend as well. But overall, disappointed to get a loss, but it was a lot better performances. Our last back-to-back performances have been better in flag after getting smoked by the Raiders, but we are slowly growing.
We've got a couple Bronny Jameses in our squads. We got Egan's little brother. We got Nathan's little reducing little Bronnies out in the development areas. Let's go to SG Ball. They got their first win over the weekend. Great to see that the boys got a dub. Good for confidence. Who was it for you that kind of stood out in that game? And how did that game go? Yeah,
unreal, bro. Yeah, 20-12. The boys got it done. These boys have struggled with, they've been very individualistic for the last, how many weeks. They've finally come together. They've had a real stout performance here going to, was it a 20-6 lead with, I think, about 10 to go in this game. And then the Dragons put one try in to make it 20-12. So a real strong performance from SG Ball boys against a side that's been struggling this year with the Dragons. But the Dragons still have a little bit of talent going around. Players that stood out for me, Joseph Ratcliffe looks like a great player, the fullback that we have at the moment. I was so happy to see him off the Harold match here come back with us in SG Ball, and he looks like he's continued to develop. Compton Purcell, I continue to say, I think he's something special. I can't wait to see more and more out of him. I thought that our front rower, Lau Malili, he's a guy that we noticed earlier on in the Panthers game where he came off the bench, and I looked at him. He was the number 17 in that game. Went, that boy is well too big to be that age group. He was damaging in this game, ended up scoring a try as well. I think little performances, Kahu Kappa week in, week out, starting to get a little bit better, and he's becoming more of a captain in those areas. So I've been really, really happy with his performances this week. But the big names that I'm watching out for, Joseph Ratcliffe, incredible. Compton Purcell, I'm watching week in, week out. I think those guys are really special. And Kahu Kappa as well, off the back of that. I love really Compton.
Good at his finishing.
Yeah.
Let's just quickly go over the Harold Mets. I think they got the dub, or they just lose in the last. They got the dub. Yep.
They got the dub as well. So they're undefeated from memory. this season. That is right. Yeah, undefeated from memory, and they are looking damaging, bro. We are just even with Sinbin, we had a Sinbin in this game as well. Lucien Michele, but that's a play. I love that front rower, Lucien Michele. He's definitely one to continue to watch out for. Jeremiah Lamana, the fullback. He's talented as. But the kid that I've been watching for week in, week out now is this Fretten, number 11, the edge back rower. He is so talented. Yes. He is really talented. I can't wait to see more and more out of him. And the last people I'll kind of touch on, Tyson Hansen has been a captain for us since the start of this year. Week in, week out, his leadership's been incredible. He's been so good in the forward pack there at the moment. He started off as a 6. He can bounce anywhere. He's been really solid. Ronan Byford has been someone that is just standing out week in, week out for me. He is unreal. I cannot wait to see more out of him. Bishop Neal coming off the bench now is more of an impact play, which is really good to see, and he's doing that to a high click. But 22-12 against the Balmain Tigers side, a really, really good effort there. And the boys are undefeated this season, so there's not much more we can say. There's just a lot of talent there. But keep an eye on this Satali Fretten. Asolele, yeah, Fretten. Yep. He's a gun, bro.
TJ doing wonders with him, with that team. He's so good at this level. The way he's developing the Harold Matt squad, the second year running, he's doing an amazing work there. Guys, just we're near on closing, but I thought this would be a good question for Ash. Boys, what's your thoughts on the new rugby league game coming out in July? I haven't really played these games, but I'm actually interested in getting into it. But are you a big rugby league live guy or whatever it's called? And do you play this? And what's your thoughts on this game coming out?
Yeah, played every game since I was a little boy. I was unable to play the EA Sports one, early ones. Like I think that was a 95 game, the EA Sports one when EA Sports had rugby league. Yeah, which is a while back, right? But I can't wait to see this game. If they are, people got to also remember, like, you know, this is a small group, a small team that is making these games. So don't think it's going to be incredible, crispy, all that. But I'd love to see an ultimate team, and seeing by his profile picture as well. If there is an ultimate team thing with this, I think it's been confirmed as well. I'm going to play this game week in, week out. Like, you know, if you don't know Ultimate Team, Levon, think of like Supercoach in a way. You buy packs. You can get cards in those packs, and those become your players on the field. And so think of like you could buy like Golden Boot Sean Johnson as a 99 overall Sean Johnson card that just dominates everyone, or, you know, a 99 Darren Lockyer, 99 Andrew Johns, and you can build your team, right? I think if they did that right, they can make a ton of money on it. And I really am excited for it, bro. I really am.
Yeah. I kind of get the idea. I did play. I used to play Madden. I think they had Ultimate Team too.
Yes, very
back
similar
in the days. So, hey, that's exciting to anyone that's interested in that type of stuff. Will it be out on PC? I might buy it if it's a PC, unless it's purely console. I'm not too sure.
I'm pretty sure it should be. When Andrew Abdo announced it on the Herald of Sport podcast, he said it was going to be cross-platform. I'm trying to think if Rugby League Live 4 was on PC. I don't think it was, but actually, I think it was from memory, because I had to do a lot of, like, you know, there was modding and all that for it. So, it is on PC. So, yeah, you should be right, bro. You should be right.
Okay, guys, that wraps up our show. Massive night tonight. Thank you, everyone. Again, we got averaging 100 people in here. That's a new record for us. We appreciate everyone that's come in. If you are new, guys, hit that subscribe and that like. And just quickly back to what Zach, he's saying here, he wanted to be a member. If you do want to be a member, go through your desktop and hit the join button. It'll take you to our different perks that we have. But let me know if you do get in there. We have some WhatsApp group for all of our first grader members. If people are wanting to join that, get a bit more conversation amongst the group, and we sometimes chime in with our analysis and thoughts as well. So, but massive night. Thank you for all of our members coming through and the chat. Appreciate you. Any last words from you? Actually, sorry, just quickly, thank you, Tony, again. Future's bright. What great words to put it. Great way to put it. But anything from you, Ash, before we close off?
Not too much from me, brother. We got tomorrow night, me and Brody will be on my channel, guys. If you're going to jump over to my channel, Ash Thomas on YouTube. Yeah, me and Brody will be talking about all the footy over the weekend, stuff like that, our thoughts on certain sides and that. And then we got our Super Coach show on Thursday night. So all the Super Coaches out there, I had a horrendous week. So shout out to you. You know, Captain Kalen Ponga, and unfortunately didn't loop, Nico Hines to get rid of that. So yeah, not a great week from Ash, but we'll talk about that Thursday and a couple of trades to keep me my head above water, and hopefully I can get up the ranks sometime soon.
I need to learn how to do that loop. I've never even tried it, but might need it because my captains have fallen off of it the last couple of weeks. But man, it's good fun. It's good fun. This stuff, and just go to these shows, guys. Go to the Thursday show and tomorrow's show. Ash and Brody, the way they break it up, the knowledge they have, the breadth of knowledge across the thing. I know a lot of our guys have benefited. Probably shout out Killer. He's benefited from the bookies, from the knowledge Ash and Brody share. He's legit benefited financially. So go to these guys for financial advice if you are tipping, because they got super, super knowledge. So, and go subscribe, please, to Ash Thomas on YouTube. Again, thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, boys.
Enjoy the weekend. Don't forget, we'll be here for watch along late on Sunday night. So pop your head in, come say hi in the chat. Come in at halftime if you like to focus, and then come in post game. We'll have some content for you guys as well. We appreciate everyone supporting us. Thank you, Tahi, our moderator, as always, getting us up to 80, pushing everyone to be involved. Let's get to 100 before you hit the door on the way out. Just click that like and subscribe, guys. But we appreciate everyone's involvement. Take care, guys. Stay safe. Enjoy the next few days. Enjoy the footy starting Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday, and then we're the last game of the week before the bye. Let's hope we get that dub, go into the bye super relaxed, super calm, refreshed, and our boys come back stronger for a game against the Melbourne Storm. Which will be, we won't put that in the back of the head right now. Let's just stay free of that. Focus on the Tigers. But let's get this dub. Let's make it 3 in a row and get to the 8-point mark. So stay safe, everyone. Catch you later. Up the wires as always. Peace.
Up the wires.